right, everybody, welcome to this week's True Crime Podcast. I'm here with my friends Matt, Braden, and Justin, and we're discussing a tale today that is centered around deception, betrayal, seduction, and justice. It's a story today of a woman who is unsuspecting yet finds herself with the opportunity to do a horrible thing and yet right a horrible wrong.
Like, what would you do if, without premeditation or planning, you found yourself with an opportunity to end a great evil, but it would require you to do the unthinkable? Like, would you have the courage and the fortitude to cross the ultimate line there?
And we want to set the stage for our story today, but it requires some imagination. Like, just imagine for yourself what it might feel like to be thrown right into the middle of this situation. It's an evil so great that it oppresses not just one person or a family, an entire nation comes under this oppression. The people that you call your neighbors, your friends, they've been persecuted and they've been punished, not just for a little while, but for decades. And they're crying out for deliverance because of the result of this crime. Imagine everyone that you love and everyone that you know, they're suffering under the cruelty of one man and one decision and this oppressive army that's supporting him.
And this man is such a tyrant. And this tyrant, he's so self-assured, he's so protected that he can't even imagine a scenario where he's not in control. He's a narcissist with a Napoleon complex. He's the kind of guy who you want to hurt no matter what it costs.
So here's how the story goes down, right? We've got two central figures, our heroine and this evil despot who's in charge of this army. And here's a guy who is so self-assured and yet in a spectacular effort gets caught with his pants down, figuratively and literally, okay? And so our story begins, really, we start this particular story at a moment where this guy is leading an army and they fall in a spectacular fashion. Like, this guy steps on the battle so self-assured, and then everything that could go wrong does go wrong. And because of his horrible decision-making, his poor communication, his pure, complete arrogance.
Yeah, and his hubris leads him towards complacency and panic, and desperate men do desperate things, right? His superior army is obliterated because of his inferiority complex and his inferior leadership. He and his men are chased down and defeated until he's the last man standing and on the run. He literally jumps off his chariot and flees by foot, which was such a dumb move.
Imagine this guy. Here he is now. He's alone. He's unarmed. He's afraid. And he's confronted by his own stupidity. He's literally on the run for his life.
And this is the part of the story where our villain finally meets justice in the most unusual place. Scrambling in his retreat, he sees a beautiful woman in the distance. Like a mirage, he just can't believe his eyes. His instincts tell him that he's in a friendly neighborhood, and against his better judgment, he decides to run after her. She motions him safely inside to her home.
Okay, so again, contextually, you're this guy, right? You were once powerful and everything just fell apart in front of you. Now imagine being on the run, afraid of your life, hungry, scared, lost, and you find yourself in what you think is in friendly territory, and you see a beautiful woman motioning you to come towards her. And that probably in that moment just seemed like an offer too good to refuse. And according to the story, she welcomes him into her home. She comforts him, gives him something to drink, offers him kind and gentle words, offers him a warm bed. And I think this guy feels like he is in a safe place.
Yeah, so let's talk about her for a minute. This does seem a little like, is it sketchy? Is this for real? And he just goes right in. But if we think about her, like, what is she possibly up to? Is she a hero, or is she aiding and abetting the enemy? Like, what possesses her to stand outside her home and offer this guy shelter? Did she know who it was, or did she just see a scared, exhausted dude running and shouting, and thought maybe I should let him in.
Yeah, and even more than that, if she knew who he was and knew that he was on the run for justice, you kind of like, why is she risking being caught with him or considered like a traitor because she was helping him out? You just kind of wonder, is there something more going on in this story?
Yes, okay. He's now in the home. She's seduced him. We don't know if she's really that convincing, if she's that beautiful, or maybe it's the dehydration setting in, the exhaustion is clouding his judgment. But now here it is. He's in this spot because of the exhausted thinking. He believes he's in a safe place with a friendly woman. He's just totally oblivious.
Okay, so you get this mental picture, right? He's comfortable. He's safe in her arms. He falls asleep. And she takes a giant steak and absolutely murders him. Did anybody see that coming?
I did not. That's crazy. A steak. Wow, man. You have to admit, plan is quite basic, but her quote-unquote execution is pretty brilliant. And if the experts are right, she plans this thing to a T. She waits until this dude is tired, and she lures him in, and she's all seductive, and she's just safe in her arms, he thinks, and then in the right moment, when he feels safe and secure, she ends him.
And so the experts have kind of examined this true crime case, if you will, and there's some speculation about what exactly was going on. The thought is that this woman, in fact, was married, but her husband had gotten caught up in all the politics of everything going on, and they feel like something must have happened that left this woman bitter and resentful. So instead of just this moment of opportunity, she took the opportunity to get revenge, like the survivor getting their revenge, if you will.
Yeah, and think about it in that culture. A lonely woman inviting a strange man into her house, that would have come with a high risk of sexual assault. And you can imagine that there was a risk that she was willing to take, and perhaps she had maybe experienced a tragedy like this before. And another thing to note in that culture, inviting a man into her house, she could have been killed for inviting a sexual relationship in herself. She could have been accused and blamed for that.
So to wrap it all up, you guys, here's a story of two people, an evil tyrant and the woman that puts him down. And because of her actions, really what we know from history, because of her actions, her neighbors and friends are finally free from this tyranny, this oppression. And maybe, just maybe, we don't know for sure, but maybe there was a little bit of personal justice in there as well from things that have happened to her. But history does remember her as a hero who was celebrated for her quick thinking, her brilliant deception, and her steely courage to do the right thing, the hard thing, to bring justice and the reign of terror of a wicked man.